Hi, welcome to the Jackson Hole Backcountry Health Strength Series. My name's Ian and I'll be your personal trainer. Today we're going to teach you how to squat. The squat is a fantastic lower body exercise that can be great for building strength in your glutes, quads, and hamstrings, and can also work those lower back muscles and strengthen your core if you do it properly. If you're someone who likes to bicycle, ski, run, hike, etc., the squat is a great exercise to work into your routine. That said, a lot of squatting can be detrimental to your lower back or your knees if you're not doing it properly. So if you're someone who's been squatting and you're experiencing that lower back or knee pain, that's common, or if you're just getting into squatting and you're not sure how to do it properly, we're going to take you through the proper form and the common mistakes to avoid. Let's start with how to perform a basic squat with no weight, also known as an air squat. To get started, position your feet approximately shoulder width distance apart with your toes at a comfortable position. For most people, toes pointed slightly outward is common. To start the movement, keep your chest lifted and sit your hips down and back like you're sitting back into a low chair behind you. Work to get your hips below your knees or as low as you're comfortably able. To come back up, keep your chest lifted, press through your heels, squeeze in your glutes, and push your hips forward. Here's another view from the side. Notice how I'm moving my hips back in order to keep my knees from going too far over my toes. Breathing is another important part of this exercise. The best way to breathe while doing a squat is to breathe in at the top, hold that breath in while you perform the squat, and then exhale at the top of the movement. This will create some intra-abdominal pressure, which will help stabilize your spine and prevent lower back injury while you're performing your squat. All right, now we're going to talk through a few common mistakes that we see when squatting that can be detrimental, especially to your back and your knees over time. One of the most common mistakes seen in squatting is to shift your weight forward as you move down into your squat. By shifting your weight forward, you're putting more pressure on your knees, and this can lead to knee irritation or even injury over time. In order to avoid shifting your weight forward, make sure that you keep consistent pressure in your heels as you move down through your squat, and that you press into your heels as you move back up. Keeping pressure in your heels can be reliant on good ankle mobility. If you're struggling with this, there are a couple steps that you can take in order to fix the issue. The first thing you can do is move your feet even a little bit wider apart than you have been and point your toes a little bit farther outward. This will make it easier to move into an even lower squat while keeping weight in your heels. Another thing you can try at home or in the gym is putting down a couple weight plates or a couple books, whatever you may have, in order to elevate your heels during your squat. Keeping your heels elevated will allow you to keep even pressure in your heels throughout the entire movement. The second issue that we commonly see in squatting is people rounding their lower back as they move down into their squat, which can create undue pressure on the lower spine. In order to avoid rounding your lower back while you're squatting, keep a few easy form cues in mind as you go through the movement. You want to make sure to keep your chest lifted, shoulders down and back, core engaged, and sit your hips back in order to avoid rounding that lower spine. You can also try the quick fixes that we just discussed to avoid shifting your weight forward, which will also help with keeping a straight back while you're squatting. These include widening your stance and having your heels slightly elevated as you move through your squat. The true key to avoiding shifting your weight forward and having a rounded spine, these common mistakes that we see in squatting, is to have good ankle mobility. If you think that you're struggling with your ankle mobility, come in and see us and we'll get you sorted out. Here's what it looks like to squat with a rounded spine, which can often happen as you start to get tired later in your sits. The third common mistake that we're going to cover in this video when squatting is allowing the knees to collapse inward as you move through your squat. Letting your knees collapse inward, also known as knee valgus collapse, will cause extra stress on your knee joint and can wear down the cartilage over time, leading to chronic pain later in life. In order to avoid letting your knees collapse in while you're squatting, make sure to keep your knees in line with your toes as you move through the squat. Here's what it looks like to see knees collapsing inwards during a squat. Here's what it looks like to keep knees in line during a squat. Another great cue that you can keep in mind to keep your knees moving in the right direction when you squat is to focus on pressing into your outer heels as you move down into your squat and as you press up out of your squat. Another great thing you can try if you're struggling with your knees collapsing inward during your squatting is to wear a very light resistance band around your legs as you move through your squat. This will simply remind you to keep that outward pressure on your knees and keep them moving in line. Make sure that you don't wear too heavy of a resistance band during your squatting or it will actually pull your knees inward. As you progress in your squatting, you may want to add weight to your squats in order to build more strength over time. You can use a dumbbell or a kettlebell at home, or even a barbell at the gym in order to add weight to your squats. If you do use a barbell at the gym, make sure that it sits on your traps and not on your neck in order to avoid any potential spinal injuries. As always, we recommend that you dial in the proper form before adding significant weight in order to avoid those common mistakes and injuries down the road. Thanks for watching this video, and if you have any questions or want to work with someone in person, reach out to us anytime.